that is you should write the amount that you can based on your level of English. If you are going to sacrifice sentence structure or punctuation or spelling in order to increase your length, then no, you should stay close to that 50-word minimum. If your English level is a bit more advanced and it's fairly easy for you to say more without sacrificing the other aspects of writing, then by all means, allow yourself to write more. Just remember to give yourself time at the end to go back and reread what you've written. It's very easy to make simple mistakes. So in the comments that you guys have left for me in the past when you've given me writing responses, I've noticed that it's easy for you guys to make typos. It's easy for me to make typos. Sometimes you leave off the last letter of a word or you misspell something. And when I'm reading these responses, I know that's what happened and I don't usually comment on it. But on the Duolingo English test, you want to make sure that you're catching those mistakes. And the other question is, how long do you have to write? Well, you have 5 minutes. So this gives you some time to think about what to say and to go back and proofread. Another benefit of proofreading is that often it's when you reread what you've written that you can think of better words to include. So synonyms will come into your mind. Or you may see that you have two simple sentences together and know that you can combine them into a complex sentence. So it's really a good idea to give yourself that time to go back and look at what you've written. Okay, so for the video today, I am going to give you a couple of prompts. The first one is from a practice test, and I'm going to give you 2 sample responses to that, just as a guideline. The first one will be a bit easier, closer to that 50-word response, and the second one will be a little bit more of an advanced response. And then I'm going to give you another prompt that is from the actual Duolingo English test. And we'll do the same thing. I'll give you a response that's closer to that 50 words, and then I'll give you one that's a bit longer and a bit more detailed. So I recommend that you practice these prompts yourself. When you see the sample prompt, pause the video, give yourself 5 minutes, and practice writing your own response. And then take a look at mine. Yours won't be the same as mine, but it's a good idea to see the differences in our writing style, and it'll help you get some ideas of things that you could have said that are different from mine. And if you leave your responses in the comments, it lets other people see other ideas for this response. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's take a look at the first one. This first response is a pretty straightforward response. 50 words is enough words to write a paragraph. I did not spend a lot of time trying to write an introduction, a body, and a conclusion because there just is not enough time. In this response, I wrote mostly with simple sentences, and I did use a compound sentence with, I had a long time to wait, so I went to look in the shops. Throwing a compound sentence in there can boost your score, but if you don't have a lot of grammar skills, it's best to stick with your straightforward, simple, and compound sentences. Okay, now let's take a look at a more advanced response. All right, the first thing that distinguishes this response from the previous one is that this one has a little bit more of a conscious topic sentence. As you read the passage, you'll see that there's a mix of compound and complex sentences, and you can find prepositional phrases and subordinate conjunctions and adverb clauses. Basically, the sentences are a bit more complicated, but they remain conversational in nature. This passage ends with a concluding statement. And this passage is a bit longer than the previous one. It's a little over 100 words, which I really think is about the maximum that I would recommend for a 5-minute prompt. Remember, you want to make sure you have time to go back and proofread. It's when you proofread that you can find synonyms for words that you've used, or find ways to combine two shorter sentences into a longer sentence. Really, that proofreading is important. And like I mentioned in the beginning, you'll notice typos and smaller mistakes that you've made. All right, let's take a look at a second prompt. This is a prompt from the actual test, and this prompt is a little bit more complicated than the previous one. In this first example, you can see that I have written a topic sentence for our paragraph. I prefer stability and routine in my life. I'm using compound sentences. The very next sentence is a compound sentence. Looking further towards the end, I see that is why I'm never bored in my routine. That would be a demonstrative pronoun. So even though I've kept it fairly close to the 50-word minimum, it does show off a decent range of sentence structures and grammar, and the vocabulary is also appropriate for this particular response. All right, let's take a look at my second answer. Okay, in my next response, you can see that it's a little bit longer. It's also a little bit more complex with the sentence structures used. In the first sentence, my topic sentence, I'm using a correlative conjunction. And then my second sentence begins with a phrasal verb. As you continue to read, you'll discover compound and complex sentences, prepositional phrases, and the concluding sentence is a bit longer and a little bit more detailed than in the previous example. All right, I hope this video has been helpful.